Next we have Mr. ASHOK Rao, who will talk to us for a few minutes. Mr. ASHOK Rao is the chairman of TIE Global, and he's a serial entrepreneur with 4 successful high-technology startups behind him. He's currently serving as the chairman and CEO of his 5th startup, Vodini Incorporated, which develops cutting-edge software for enterprises. He's currently involved as an angel investor in 6 high-tech startups. He holds a BS in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Delhi, an MS from Marquette University, and an executive diploma in Financial Management from the London School of Economics. Mr. ASHOK Rao.
Is it on? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are falling asleep, I think, are we? You know, because we are the last thing that's standing between you and your weekend. The bar is not very far away, and you sort of labored through, not labored, it's been a fantastic day and a half that we've sat through with great plenary sessions as well as some great breakout sessions. So, first of all, before I get into what I had been asked to do, we just sort of wrap up what we're all about. We're all about entrepreneurship. At TIE, this conference has been all about entrepreneurship and promoting it and figuring out how to make people better at it and figuring out how to get government to get the hell out of the way and all of those other things. So, and it is TIE's 20th anniversary, so it's kind of apropos that we have added to the pantheon of great TIE conferences on our 20th anniversary, TIECon Kerala 2012. Big hand for the TIECon Kerala folks. Frankly, till His Holiness twisted my arm to come and attend this conference, my impression of TIE Kerala was a sleepy little chapter in the backwaters, because all you hear about Kerala is backwaters. So, sleep a little out in the backwaters, and yeah, they're doing okay, but you come here, and man, this is head-snapping. The other people that I'd like to give a shout-out to, if they're in the room, are the volunteers. Where are the volunteers? Please, shout out to all the volunteers. You know what we have anyway, John. And the other group that I've been most impressed by, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder on this, but is the people who run all the systems in the back, the Stark people. So I don't know if they're all around, but just stand up, guys. Just take a bow, all of you. Stark people. Camera operators and there they are. They're hiding behind that. And behind me too, yes. This is the main man. Thank you so much. Well, that's great. As I said, well, first of all, I'm not standing behind there. I think, first, I'm a trifle vertically challenged, and that is a very tall podium, so I think the best you can see is my nose, and it is sort of intimidating. So I'm standing out here to talk about the lessons learned through a journey of entrepreneurship. There's oftentimes, I think to myself at this age, at the age of 63, that I wish the me of today had sat on the shoulder of the me of 30 years ago and whispered in my ear when I made all these stupid mistakes. I would be better off, I'd be more successful, I'd have less bloody noses. But that's not what happened. However, TIE has happened. And what we do at TIE is we give back, at least those who have achieved and who have gray hair and who are more in my age bracket. So I call it paying it forward. TIE is all about paying it forward. Part of paying it forward is teaching younger, aspiring entrepreneurs. Anyway, it doesn't have to be younger. Anybody can be an entrepreneur at any age. The younger, older, aspiring entrepreneurs can avoid some of the mistakes we made through the lessons we have learned over time. So quickly, I'll wrap up my little bit, because we don't want to carry this on too long, with the lessons learned along the way. So the first lesson I learned, and I think most of you who are in the business of entrepreneurship learned, that entrepreneurship is all about going from euphoria to terror every heartbeat. You're euphoric one instant, and you're terrorized the next, and back to euphoria, and back to terror. You got an order, you're happy. The government approved your land grant, you're happy. You can't make payroll, you're terror-stricken. And that is what happens almost on a continuous basis. But those of us who are infected with that entrepreneurial virus that I talked about, remember that entrepreneurial virus? We live on it. It's our fuel. And when that's not happening, we get bored. But what should not bore us is the lessons learned from the entrepreneurial journey. I used to call it the commandments for entrepreneurs. But during my career, over the last 4 or 5 companies that I've started, I had one fellow work with me as a co-founder, partner, employee over the last 4 companies. And I'd say some stupid things, and he'd write them down. And then he actually published a booklet called ASHOKisms. And that sort of became the in thing within most of the companies we had, was the ASHOKisms. There are about 60 of them. Some of them are rather colorful, so I won't include them. So I took a sampling of 12.5 ASHOKisms as the lessons learned via entrepreneurship. What entrepreneurs who are successful, or not so successful, or aspiring, all should probably think about. I'm not saying this is the gospel, this is not the Bible, but it's something that we ought to be thinking about. So first of all, looking at our ASHOKism, the first ASHOKism is care passionately. Self-evident, isn't it? Care about your customers, care about your employees, and care about your investors. Care about them all equally. Don't favor any one over the other, so care. And most entrepreneurs don't have any problem with that because we are passionate people generally. I mean, if we're laid back, we've got to go become a bureaucrat someplace. But we do care. But there is a paradox that entrepreneurs handle. Well, being an entrepreneur is a series of paradoxes. And the first one is associated with caring. Because when you care, you like. And when you like, you lose reason at times. How many of us have fallen prey to that? Yeah, come on, be honest, guys. Or you're too sleepy. Yeah, well, the great entrepreneur, Kandwa Reki himself, raised his hand. So, while you care, you have to be intellectually ruthless. Paradox, isn't it? You're caring and you're being ruthless. Let me give you an example. One of the companies I started, I called it with a gang of 8. 7 people joined me in this venture, and we used to meet around a coffee table and one of those old cafeteria tables, sorry. And this was my first CFO. He came on board, and he worked hard. He was my brother. Not literally, but he had red hair and green eyes, so he couldn't have been my brother. But he was as close to me as anybody in the company, and this company grew. Went to 20 million, then to 55 million, then 110 million. But by the time it got to 110 million, it was evident to everybody in the company, except me, that he was not up to the task anymore. And here's a guy who's worked 80-hour weeks, who's lived with you from inception all the way up to this heady success. What do you do? And you're, Carlos says fire it. Well, I didn't. But maybe I should have. Or at least be ruthless enough intellectually, not in my heart, but in my head, to figure out what should be done with this individual. Because the job had gotten too big for it. So that's my paradox that I talk about. Care, but while you're caring with your heart, be ruthless with your head. Ruthless is harsh, but it sort of makes the point. That's why it became an ASHOKism. When we build our businesses, we are control freaks. We don't like to delegate anything. So oftentimes, companies don't grow because they are restricted to our own personal bandwidth. So, always advise people to delegate. Delegate everything. But never delegate success. And by that I mean don't disconnect yourself from those key important decisions and actions that you have to take that influence the life and death of your company. Good example, Enron. Success or death. Track your mistakes, not your successes. While things are going well, we tend to get carried away with our press clippings and our successes. But track your mistakes. I used to keep an actual written list of the 10 worst mistakes I'd made. Written list from 1 to 10. The sad thing about this list is it would keep changing. You know what that means? I'd make another mistake that would drop number 10 off the list. So number 10 became number 11, and I'd make some other stupid mistake. But if you track your mistakes, at least you have a better chance of not repeating the same dumb mistake. It's okay to make a mistake, but it's not okay to make it twice. The best deals are made at the point of indifference. People talk about being great negotiators. I think the best negotiation occurs when both parties are slightly pissed off. They're both slightly unhappy. So the best deals are made at the point of indifference. When you're negotiating a deal, don't try to screw the other party. Don't try to win at all costs. A long-term negotiation is best off when it's good for both. Deal delayed is a deal betrayed. I've lived that. Most entrepreneurs have to learn to disconnect from their businesses when it's time to sell it, when it's time to move on, when it's time to get quiet, or when it's time for the entrepreneur to be replaced by somebody more professional who can handle a larger organization. It's a deal delayed is a deal betrayed. Here's something that's basic, not just to entrepreneurs, but it's especially important to entrepreneurs because we oftentimes forget the importance of good communications. Writing well, the art of writing a good letter or a good email is disappearing because we're in the Twitter world, we're in the texting world, and everything's abbreviations. But I still think that if you learn to write well, and all you young fellows sitting out there, and young ladies sitting out there, practice some writing, and then practice some speaking. Communication skills are critically important, even if it's for finding a job, or for impressing your wife, or your girlfriend, or to come up with a good pickup line. You have good communication skills. But it's the most important thing, and I'll give you an example of why, or how you can become a better speaker. It's not essential for everybody to be a great speaker. Not everybody needs to be Winston Churchill. Everybody can become a decent speaker. And what that requires, what that entails, is some practice and some preparation. And let me give you my own historical perspective from 1964 to today. My personal lessons learned along the way. In '64, I won the All India National Debating Championship in high school in Dehradun. And I still recall that I must have done a good job because I won it, right? But I only recall fear, terror, and nervousness. And today, when I get up in front of a crowd, whether it's 500 or 5,000, I don't. Because I've lived it, I've worked it, I've practiced it. And I no longer have those butterflies and that intense nervousness to conquer. So, it took 48 years. I mean, yeah, I'm slow. Sorry, but I've conquered it. So learn to communicate. And everybody, trust me, all of you in this room can become good speakers. Maybe not great, but good. When we were younger and building businesses, we wanted to hire people who were leaner, meaner, stronger, faster. By that I mean worked hard, had great resumes, had great credentials. But over time I learned that was all fine and dandy, but higher trust. Here I am 10,000 miles away from my main business with Eni, which is in California. And I have no worries. I have 3 guys who I trust with my life. And I can be here and talk to this great audience and be part of this great conference because I've hired trust. But it took me a while to learn that. And it took me a while to even figure out what trust was. Because the price of betrayal is very expensive. Here's a line that I wish I had copyrighted. Because I came up with this a long time ago. And Marshall Goldsmith wrote a best-selling book with that title just about 3 years ago. Those who got you there don't get you out of there. By that what I mean? People are critical to success in a business. And if you've got a group of people who have sort of crashed and burned in a project or a venture or a certain activity, no amount of remedial training is going to make them get you out of that problem. So this is where, again, ASHOKism number 2 has to come in. If we need intellectually ruthless and figure out they're not going to get you out of trouble. Those who got you there, don't get you out of there. We tend to go very fast as entrepreneurs. We outrun our supply lines. Oftentimes you're way out there and you turn around and the rest of your company is a couple of miles behind you. And you simply just outstrip it. So sometimes, and the organization then goes into paralysis. So sometimes the entire organization, you can go faster by slowing down. This was one of my favorite tactics during doldrums, and you always hit doldrums, precipitate a crisis, and then manage to just precipitate one. Create a crisis. Promise a customer something that the engineer said would take 6 months and promised it to him in 2 months. Now watch what happens. Then make sure you manage around it. Be sure to get everybody fired up, and sometimes you get some great stuff coming out of it. Now don't make a habit out of it, but it's sometimes a decent technique for waking people up, like you all have to be woken up because we put you to sleep. But we're not going to precipitate a crisis. Okay, as entrepreneurs, we tend to be focused on the design of the product, sales, marketing, customer relations. But we forget two very important things. Know your numbers and know the law. And by that, I don't mean become a lawyer. So the point is just know enough about it so that you don't get bamboozled by somebody else, by your CFO or by your law firm. So be part accountant, part lawyer, but all entrepreneur. Pay attention to the details. We tend to sometimes avoid doing that. We always try to think of ourselves as big picture people. We are. But pay attention to the details. It's just a funny way of saying you get 100% better by improving 1% in 100 areas. Essentially, that is, pay attention to the details and things will get better. Be decisive. I don't think most entrepreneurs have that problem, but sometimes you get paralyzed with too many problems. So indecision is like being pecked to death by blunt ducks. Here's an important one. Don't drink your own whiskey. Don't shave Superman. And the day don't shave Superman is only for the men in the crowd. But do you folks get what I'm trying to say with that? Do not get carried away with who you are. Don't shave Superman means when you look in the mirror every morning to shave, that guy looking back at you from the mirror, he's no Superman. He's you, warts and all, even though yesterday you might have had your picture on the cover of Inc. magazine. You might have won Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year. You might have put out in the newspaper do a big full-page article on you. You're still the same guy who you shaved the day before. Well, for the ladies, I haven't come up with a good enough analogy other than don't drink your own whiskey. Meaning, don't get carried away with yourself. Stay grounded. Stay in the moment. Because what you have to do is worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow. By that, I don't mean don't be strategic. But don't get paralyzed. Don't obsess over things that you don't have to handle today. So worry about tomorrow's problems. Tomorrow. Learn to compartmentalize. Here's another one. Don't push the river. Let it flow. There are two kinds of young entrepreneurs who will come to me and say, one of them will say, look, I have this great idea, but I don't have the capital. I don't have the startup money. And the other one says, I really want to start a business, but I don't know what to start it with. I don't have the idea. And to both of them I say, don't push the river. Let it flow. Go with it. You can't change the way the river's going. That river, unless you've got 10 tons of C4 explosives and all kinds of blasting equipment. So you go with the flow, and those ideas will come to you, and investors will come to you. Just keep working it, because if you've got more time than money on your hands, as a young aspiring entrepreneur, and most young aspiring entrepreneurs do have more time than money, go spend your time, because you don't have the money to spend. And don't push the river, let it flow. And finally, the final Ashokism, I think that should be the final Ashokism in any list that I can knock out of my 60 or so. And I wish Ken Ray and Rajaratnam and Raju and all these guys had followed this one. If it feels wrong, it is. So keep a moral compass. Again, it ties back to don't shave Superman. Keep a moral compass, because if it feels wrong, it doesn't matter how much benefit you're going to get. And even if you don't get caught, it is wrong. That's the list, and that's the wrap-up. So thank you all very much. It was great to be here for the last 8 hours.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. I must say the 48 years has definitely paid off because you are a great speaker and I really enjoy listening to you.